Hello, and you are listening to FPcast, the podcast for Fruitless Pursuits, where we bullshit about the week in pop culture. I am Luke.
And I'm Jacinta.
And this week we are talking about...
movies, television, collectibles, video games, comics, books, board games, and more.
Spider-Man.
Spider pigs. There should have been a spider pig in it.
Yeah, man, it's been done.
It has. Well, I mean, it has been done, but it's only been done in cartoon form.
They should
You
put...
know, they're making such a big deal of doing all these live action remakes now. Why can't we just have a little spider pig cameo in the background?
Do you mean... Okay, you got to clarify here. I'm going to get really nerdy on you at the beginning. Do you mean Spider Pig from the Simpsons
Yes.
movie, or do you mean Spider Ham?
Spider pig.
See,
I said spider pig.
Well, why not Spider Ham? He's actually part of the Marvel Universe.
Well, we're all about doing crossovers now, aren't we?
He's
Sony
Peter-
and Marvel.
He's Peter
and
Porker.
That's fine. But, wasn't fucking Wonder Woman a pig at some point as well? I think I have a toy. I have a little piggy Wonder Woman toy.
In the Justice League cartoon, she got turned into a pig by Cersei.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There you go.
From Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Shame.
Hello, everybody. Still struggling. You know, it's been 3 weeks and still coughing. My voice feels still a little bit fucked. In fact,
Because I'm 50 shades of fucked up.
right now,
Yeah.
it's not good. So please bear with that. There might be awkward pauses for coughing, etc. Again, the voices are a little bit strained.
Yeah.
But still got to do the show because while that's the bad news, the good news is after weeks of seeing, what did we see? Like Rough Night, Cars 3, Transformers. We saw The Mummy. Actually saw a couple of movies that I know I at least enjoyed. Hopefully you enjoyed them as well. But we are going to be reviewing not only Spider-Man Homecoming today, but we're giving you Baby Driver a week early because we managed
Or
to
a
see
week late, depending on where you live in the world.
True, but we did manage to see a preview screening. We told you it was going to be a couple of weeks. No, we saw it. We saw it Friday, so we're going to talk about that as well. So 2 very critically acclaimed. I don't talk
Don't
proper.
speak of the good.
English.
Yeah.
2 critically acclaimed movies that we're going to talk about today. Plus, I'm sure there's a little bit of news, and we're going to talk some TV as well. So, holy shit, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot.
What would a tiger with a jackpot? What would a tiger buy? Like a leopard print, not a leopard print, like a zebra print throw?
Well, I don't know, not to wear around itself, because a tiger can't change its stripes.
That's not quite that idiom.
Well,
But
yeah, but they're all in the same family.
Yeah.
I don't know if you recall a popular, not so popular now because of some of the
Time.
things that happened in it, but if a tiger goes too fast, they turn into butter. So that would rule out roller skates. And you don't know that story?
No?
I came from a less politically correct time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I'm not even going to
Maybe don't explain
mention
it.
the name
Yeah,
of that
okay.
on air.
Yep.
On air. Ooh, we're just sitting in my room talking.
You haven't even got the on-air sign on.
I don't have enough things for it. Like, I don't have enough plugs and ports and stuff. So I've got this beautiful on-air sign and it's not on. So how do we know? Tell you who was on air.
What?
The Vulture in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Sure was.
That's a
Well,
segue. It was a really good segue, but it's not necessary now.
Yeah.
Well, let's
You
talk.
just drove that segue into a wall.
I did. I
Yeah.
drove it off a cliff. Do you hear that? I've heard someone say that on a podcast recently about the creator of Segway dying from driving off a cliff. And I heard someone tell me that. And like a good researchy person, I looked it up. And it didn't happen.
Yeah. I can't imagine that would have happened. Like, that it's too good a story for it to have actually
Oh, no, that's
happened.
why I looked it up. If
Yeah.
something's too good to be true...
It usually is.
It usually is. Yeah, that's right. So, talking about things too good to be true.
That's a nice segue.
A little bit of news. I don't know if this is news. This might have happened. Did this happen recently?
It did. Well, the articles have been coming out over the last sort of 24 hours, so the information must have been clarified recently.
And thanks to Zach for his Zach attack on the forums for giving us news. You know, look, on our, I say the forums, I mean our Facebook discussion page, like if news breaks, and this news certainly broke in 2 places, then let us know and we'll talk about it. We'll give everyone the straight skinny, the straight dope.
Yeah, I had already seen this news because of my Jeremy Renner Google alerts, but I don't have Jeremy Renner Google alerts.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, he had a picture. He put a picture on his Instagram where he had both arms in casts.
Here's just a side thought.
Yes.
I heard that like early filters for image searches for porn and stuff were looking for certain sort of like algorithms, color things. So I think the example was saying it might not be able to identify a porn image from a picture of like your grandmother in a bikini or a plate of sausages.
Okay.
Do you think with a Google alert for Jeremy Renner you might get articles about potatoes, Mr. Potato Head, Toy Story News?
It's win-win. Like, if I either get pictures of Jeremy Renner or delicious potato recipes, like, there is no downside to that. Really?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Look, it's fine.
So, sorry, Instagram.
Yeah, so on Instagram, he put up a picture of himself with both his arms in cast. One arm had a longer cast than the other arm, and he just had kind of a jokey caption. And so I assumed that it was just he'd done some like tendon damage or something, maybe doing a stunt. Obviously not too much of a big deal.
Okay, see, when you said that, because they're shooting Infinity War, I thought you meant that he had one arm up the cast of the Avengers and one arm up the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy.
No.
No, okay.
No.
Well, you know what he's like. He's a bit... he's a little bit filthy.
Yeah, I like that.
He's not very progressive, is he? He strikes me as a bit of a redneck.
Yes, I probably would agree with that. Yes, I don't like him for his opinions. Let's put it that way.
He likes the slut shame with the lads and shoot guns, I reckon.
And offer apologies to the public. Yeah. So anyway, the story has been clarified that he actually broke both his arms. I think one arm just above the wrist and another one just below the elbow.
He had one job, Hawkeye. Literally one job. And now he can't do it. He's got nothing else.
It'll have to be like when Scarlett Johansson was pregnant and they could only shoot her from like the boobs up. It'll be like for him, he'll just be doing all shoulder up.
Well, I watched Labyrinth recently, and you know when David Bowie's like got the magic balls, the crystal ball, and he's spinning it around, and he's actually got another person behind him with their arms through under his armpits. Why not do that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just such a... I think, and speaking of Labyrinth, speaking of Jim Henson often said the simpler solution is the best. So why not, like, get a Olympic archer just to link his arms through Jeremy Renner's.
Just Velcro him to the back.
And and he'll just walk around behind him. Why not get Anthony Daniels? Because I know he's not an archer, but if you ever saw the behind-the-scenes footage for Phantom Menace, like, he is right behind that C-3PO puppet, like, right up against him, like they're going to do a tandem skydive, and that might be good for Jeremy Renner.
I feel like Anthony Daniels is probably a bit taller than Jeremy Renner.
So his head might be sticking over the top.
You'd have to wear like a green like morph suit
otherwise
or something.
It's like he's got two heads.
Yeah.
Better than one, but maybe not in this movie.
Yeah.
Unless he's like mutated or something because of cosmic energy.
Maybe. So yeah, two broken arms, injured while doing a stunt. So that's what you get for being an old man with brittle bones and trying to probably do too much and impress people.
Again, I didn't hear it properly today because people were laughing. Was it when they were talking? Was it Hawkeye that asked if he was if he was nice or an old grandpa?
When?
In Spider-Man, Ned asked if someone from the Avengers was like nice or was he like a mean old grandpa.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
If you let us know who that was that he was talking about. I missed some of that stuff. Okay, well that sucks. This is like that Masters of the Universe story that I've told, I'm sure, before. You have characters like, and this is a little bit, I wonder if this is racial, because again, it was a different time. But you've got Clamp Champ. He's the black guy, and his weapon is this big clamp. Whereas everybody else, like Mechanex's neck extends, Buzz-Off's Part B's got B wings, they've all got like special abilities. But like Clamp Champ, if he leaves his clamp at home, what is he?
Is the clamp separate from the champ, or is it
it's not part of it's not part of his body. It's just an accessory.
Well, that's stupid.
Yeah. And the reason, like, I'm saying, like, is this racial? I wouldn't say that just because this one guy's black and he's just got a clamp. But in the She-Ra line, you've got Natossa, who is and she's got a worse than Clamp Champ. He's got a pretty big, impressive clamp. She's got a net.
Oh.
Like an old net.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's not a magical net.
That she just throws a net on people.
Oh.
It's probably like an old fishing net.
Yeah, probably.
And it's like Netossa. And it's like, well...
They
Yeah.
just genuinely couldn't be bothered coming up with a name for that
Yeah,
character.
we've got
And they
the
were,
blonde-
well, what does she do?
blonde, blue-eyed princess of power here, you know, looking all glamorous and with a magic sword and stuff. And even if she doesn't have the magic sword, she's like very powerful. Or Netossa can like, and you can imagine like where she just like leaves in a hurry, and they're like, all the other princesses of power are like, if you don't have
you
the net,
forget something,
yeah,
or-
I don't know if you should really come along. And they're like, who wants to rely on that? So that's where I feel Hawkeye is if he can't shoot an arrow, because he's not there for his charm.
No, he's not. But in the Battle of Sokovia, he did like do a nice motivational speech to Scarlet Witch. Maybe he could just be like the cheerleader in the back.
He's a good human shield.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not as good as Quicksilver, but pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty spuddy though. I reckon he could take a few. Take a few bullets in there.
Sure.
Be fine. God. So, luckily, he is part of the Potato Head family, so they just took off those arms and stuffed them up his bum and replaced them with new ones. So.
Yeah, his Instagram has been a lot more relaxed since he posted that picture of him with his broken arms. Lots of just kind of being at home, hanging out, walking through the woods and stuff like that.
Obviously, we wish him a very speedy recovery. Now,
I mean, really, his arms are like his best feature. Like, let's not mess those up.
Sure, yeah. I'm not going to argue there because I'm thinking of the rest of him. And
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Think of anything that trumps it. Or trumps it.
Together, Grimace, we could own this town.
Why did you have to invoke that?
Well, I don't know. Because America.
Speaking of America.
Yes, you've got a story. Now, I haven't heard this bit in years, so you fill me in and I'll be outraged.
Yeah, so this is just a little one that came through during the week. So, first shocking bit of news I discovered is that the Hawaii Five-0 is still going.
As a TV show.
Yeah, so this was, like 5-6 years ago this started, and it hasn't been on Australian TV for probably about 5 years.
So this is a reboot, obviously.
Yeah, it is a reboot.
Who's
It's got
in
like
it?
James Caan, not James Caan, Scott Caan, not James. He's a bit old, James Caan. Scott Caan, and I think Alex O'Loughlin or something like that.
Sure.
Just two rando white guys, just complete nothings, right? And
Wasn't one of them black originally?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I can't remember. I watched about 4 episodes and then went, this is crap. And then I stopped watching it, and then the network stopped showing it. But the two other people in the main cast are Daniel Day Kim and Grace Park. And they are obviously both Korean actors. And their contracts were up recently, and they tried to negotiate for some more money because they thought that, their main cast, they deserve to be paid as much as the white nobody men who
Absolutely.
are in the cast.
Yeah.
And the TV show said no. They said no. And so these guys went, well, you know what? We're walking. And so these two main cast members have just left.
Just left, packed up and
Just
went.
packed up and gone. And I say good on them. Fucking stand up for that
Absolutely.
shit.
Especially when Grace Park's been doing a fair bit. Hasn't she?
Yeah, sure.
I feel like the name's been coming up a lot. Yeah, so they're going to just have to now, replace them with puppets or...
Maybe, yeah. Well, it's set in Hawaii. Maybe they'll just, gaffer tape some coconuts together or something. I don't know.
Oh, I just hope that we don't have a Hannibal Buress situation where they just replace them and nobody notices.
God, that would be fucked.
Yeah, people...
Imagine that.
People don't know.
Oh.
Hannibal Buress is in Spider-Man Homecoming. Not a big role, but he sent a... They say lookalike. It was another black bald guy to the premiere instead of him, and not a lot of people
Nobody
noticed.
knew.
And the entertainment sites and stuff interviewed this guy as though he was Hannibal Buress, although he didn't really look like him or sound like him. Or have his same demeanour, but there you go. So maybe that's the risk that you take, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, no, that's... I kind of hope it's the start of a trend. Like, people just stopped taking bullshit because they were offered, it was a percentage less than the main cast, and they were saying that perhaps Scott Caan did have some like producer cuts and stuff like that, so that's why he was getting a little bit more money. But still, and a lot of the comment sections I'd been reading, and I expected that there would be gross stuff in the comments, but no, a lot of people were saying, you know what, I watched the show for these characters. I really like those characters, and if they're not going to be there, then...
If they're walking, I'm walking.
Exactly, yes. And so that was a little bit of a restored faith in humanity for this week.
Your fast cars, your jet skis. We're walking. Sounds like the score is Hawaii 2-0. Yeah. Yeah. And look, this isn't really news, but it kind of was news in the sense that it was one of those cultural things that surprisingly gripped the globe in a way that, I don't know, like, was it anticipated that it was going to be so big? Crash
I think so.
Bandicoot remastered version came out for PlayStation 4, and it's been a massive success. Like, I didn't have it. I didn't have a PlayStation at that point, and I was a bit old, really, when it came out, but my sister, who's 14 years younger, had it, and when I would stay with them in holidays, I would play Crash, and I remember playing Crash 2 as well. And yeah, but people were like, she was really excited about it, you've been really excited about it.
I went and bought it. I went and left work on opening day to go and buy this from the EB Games down the road. Absolutely thrilled. And one of my workmates, who I didn't even know played video games, came in and went, oh my god, I just bought Crash Bandicoot. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I was on the phone to my mum the day before it came out, and she was like, oh, and tomorrow's the big day. And I was like, why? What's the big day? And she was like, Crash Bandicoot's coming out. And I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm not into that. I'm not going to do it. But it was just one of those things. I'm very easy to coax onto a hype train, and people were talking about it. And when people started, because it went from this initial wave of, oh yeah, this is so exciting, I've just got this thing, to fuck, this thing's hard.
Yeah,
like, this is really frustrating. And that made me go, oh, I've been home all week on holiday, but feeling pretty bleh. So this idea of playing a really frustrating platformer started to appeal to me. Got it at a good price, loaded it up, and I got to say, considering I don't have that nostalgia factor, and that it is an old game remastered, I was just really taken by how great it looks and how great it feels. Yeah,
the remaster it looks amazing. Like, there's a little sort of animation at the start where Crash jumps into some sort of, like, the old version of Crash jumps into some sort of machine, and then the new version of Crash is spit out, and it was just like, oh my god, wow, that looks so amazing.
No, it's a heap of fun. And I'd heard, people say, oh, the later ones are better, the first one's not that great. I started on the first one and was like, I'm really enjoying this. And was sort of surprised at some of the innovation there, and got up to the infamously frustrating Native Fortress, and was drinking wine at the same time, and just got to a point where I was not going to get anywhere. But then, played 2 and was like, oh, this is good. And then 3 was like, oh, fuck, this is delightful. Like, the way the series expands and goes off the island and through different time periods and locations, and just some of the things it does. Like, I really love any level where I'm riding an animal or being chased by a boulder or an animal.
I think,
dinosaur.
At the time when it came out, it was so revolutionary because up until that point, the bulk of platformers had been side-scrollers.
Yeah.
And then this is a 3D one with depth, and it was, I was obsessed with it as a kid. It was like Crash Bandicoot and Wipeout were my big games, which Wipeout's also been remastered and re-released as the Omega Collection. So this has been a pretty good month for me and my gaming.
And it is hard, but it has that sort of just another, let me just do it one more time, just one more time kind of feel to it, which is good, where you want to actually, you feel accomplished. Because I know that, people just running through it on YouTube and stuff can do like Crash 2 in 2 hours. So it's not that there's like a massive amount of content, but getting it right and hitting all those things that you need to. And it's pretty unforgiving.
Yeah, there has been a couple of differences, and some people have sort of commented that maybe the jump mechanics are a little bit different. And I have noticed that in some levels. There was one, I think it's like, was it like Hog Wild or something in the first game, you've got the 3 pig on a spits. The first one you
Yeah.
jump over, the second one you go under, and then
Yeah.
the third one you're meant to jump over. I kept just getting wiped out on that third one, and I would try jumping early, I'd try jumping late, I'd try jumping where I thought I was supposed to be jumping, and it just wiped me out about 10 times in a row. And then one time I just did the same thing I'd been doing the whole time, and I got over. And then I went
Yeah.
straight down the pit because I was so surprised that I got over the pig.
No, I was able to do that. That was fine. But, yeah, I mean, I don't remember that. I'll tell you what I do remember. This is kind of embarrassing. I remember playing Crash 2 and, doing the first lot of hub stuff, beating the first boss, and then never knowing how to progress.
Oh.
Just being like, where the fuck is the next warp room? And I had the same thing. I put it on, I played it, and that's why I went from 2 to 3, because I beat the boss and went, all right, now what? I looked around and looked at the doors and went, do I have to go back into one of these? No. Replayed some levels, replayed the boss, and then was like, have I not triggered something? I've got all the crystals, what the fuck's going on? And went, fuck this, I'm going to play 3, and then really was enjoying 3 and got into that. And then I was like, look, I've got the internet now. I didn't have it like back then. I've got to look it up. And yeah, like you just go on the thing and press R1 and then you go up in an elevator from the center. But it doesn't tell you that unless it does. And I skip all the cutscenes.
No, it doesn't. And I was actually not thrown by that, but I was pretty sure that Cortex said, "Oh, I'll come back and talk to you after you've done 3 more levels or something."
After you've beaten Ripperoo.
Yeah, and then he didn't. And I thought that he was going to come and then be like, okay, now you have to go up and do this. And it's not until you go up to the next level that he comes to talk to you again.
It's a weird sort of nightmare version of, I don't know if it's supposed to be Australia or... Because you've got Ripperoo and the Dingo Dial and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's this sort of kind of New Zealand-y thing as well. And
Yeah, very
Islander stuff all thrown in. It's all kind of mixed together. Also, it reminds me of like, do you remember that like Tasmania cartoon with Taz
Vaguely.
Devil and his family, and they lived
Yeah.
it wasn't Tasmania.
Yeah.
But it was Tasmania, but it wasn't Tasmania. The other thing that really struck me is that his sister Coco is just a stone cold fox. Now you haven't seen her in the second game. She's like really almost like Lola Bunny kind of proportions. Like she's 2 times taller than him and has like this curvaceous figure, which you forget. Like there was a time in the 90s where every female character in stuff, especially video games, was just all tits and bums. She's toned down in the third one. But the funny thing to me is like you play her in the third one, and then although it was you can play either character, it actually, you can't play her for any boss battles, and if he's riding a motorbike or swimming underwater or whatever, she can't do that. It subs him in. And having played her character model and then going back to his, it looks like there's something seriously fucking wrong with him. Like, I don't know if they were twins and she got, like, her umbilical cord wrapped around his neck or something in the womb. But it's basically like he ends up looking like Sloth from Goonies by comparison, because she's like normally proportioned. And then he comes back in, he's got no neck, he's got these big shoulders and a pointy head, and he's kind of like loping around like an ape, and you're just like, oh, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Like, it really feels like he was nature's cruelest mistake. So
But that's how it was in the 90s,
it's
though.
very
like,
jarring.
Because she wasn't in the first game. She was only introduced in the second game, when they felt they needed some more female representation.
Yeah.
So I'm having a really good time with Crash. I was one of those people that I actually thought that I sat down on the Friday night on the day it came out, and I was like, man, I'm gonna smash through this so quickly. Like, if I used to play this as like a 13-year-old, I can play this shit now.
Bravado of a fool.
I know, and I had a few nearly throw my controller across the room moments on Native Fortress. It was about an hour and a half all up before I got through that level, and I was pretty embarrassed by that, but then reading other people's stories, hour and a half is not bad.
I've done 40 minutes on it, and I'm close, but Yeah.
Yeah, but close is nothing. That's the thing. It's just one slip, and then you have to go back to the start again.
It's like Dark Souls.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, so if you like to crash on the couch, pick it up. Except it's that's the whole thing. It's sold out pretty much everywhere in Australia. There's been articles about it. JB, there's nowhere in Western Australia that has it. They've all got it for pre-order again. I was very lucky to
you snooze, you lose.
get it from EB, but not all the EBs had it. It was sold out in the city. I managed to get it here, and here we can get anything we want in a nest of golden filigree. Presented by a butler. So I did get it, and I got it at a good price. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that. That surprised me. So if you're playing Crash, let us know how you're going with the Native Fortress.
And how many controllers you have broken.
All right, now, look, no trailers today. Nothing new worth mentioning. So let's get straight into our reviews. 2 big films, starting with, we'll do them in chronological order from when we saw them. Friday night, we saw Edgar Wright's new film, Baby Driver. Which I have been very curious about. I don't know how a baby can drive a car.
It's such short legs.
It was a special preview event. So the promo team we all sat in baby seats, which was pretty cool. And we all got.
They were very restrictive. I was a bit sore afterwards.
I got my Baby Driver. Did you keep your bib?
I did. Yes.
And we
got
got
I did.
jars of pureed apples.
It was nice.
So
it was a nice touch.
It was not bad. And look, often they'll have a performer or something. To get like a whole bunch of matronly ladies spoon feeding everybody, that was fantastic.
That was nice.
Here comes the aeroplane.
My lady was a bit rough, but still did the job.
Mine still had milk. So yeah. It was, I loved it. I really loved this film. And I know, like, everybody's saying that, so what can I say? But, yeah, I just think hats off to Edgar Wright. Like, he's got the goods. He has vision. Like, it's a really creative, inventive, well-crafted film that, I just respect all the work that went into it, and I really dug that cast.
Yeah, it didn't really tickle me personally, I have to say. I am not a huge fan of Ansel Elgort for no real reason. I just don't like him. And there was a lot of Ansel Elgort in this film, but it was well choreographed. The stunt sequences were fantastic. It makes car driving cooler than Fast and the Furious.
It really did.
And it makes shooting guns much cooler than John Wick. I actually wish there were more guns in this film.
Yeah, because, yes. And I agree. And I think that, a little nerdy Edgar Wright, the fact that he has out car action Fast and the Furious. I complained about Michael Bay's handling of the action sequences in Transformers, that they had no through line, that they weren't clear, they didn't have that sort of momentum that enabled you to get engaged in them. And Edgar Wright gave us all of that. Like, the action is so clear and just pulls you through the whole time. You could tell, like, we were with a full audience on a Friday night, which is usually a recipe for disaster. And you could tell that they were just so switched into that film. And Edgar Wright, for me, often has trouble, landing a third act. And that third act, the audience shut the fuck up and watched.
Well, the people next to me didn't, but everyone else, sure.
Were they the people that came in late?
That came in late.
Oh, fuck them.
The girl there was a bit where, it's in one of the trailers or in one of the, preview scenes or something where they go, "Did you get that, baby?" And then he recounts the entire thing, and she's there like, "Oh, how did he do that?" And I was like, "He's lip reading, you fuckface." Anyway, yeah. I enjoyed it. I think it's like a lot of Edgar Wright films for me that, like, it's fun, but once I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I'm probably not going to see that movie again. I don't think I've rewatched any of his films, and I own some of them.
I actually appreciate it. I thought he had more up his sleeve than I expected. What I liked about it, and this is one of those things that is kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, but a lot of the trailer stuff is pretty early in the film. So there's a point where you're like, okay, now I don't know where this is going to go. Like, now I don't know what you've got left for me. And there were certain moments that reminded me of that 90s Tarantino indie crime film stuff.
Yeah, I did. I had that thought too.
Yeah, you know when something just suddenly quite vicious happens and then everything just goes to shit? Like, I didn't know if he had that in him. And when that does start to happen, I really liked it. No, and I kind of see where you're coming from with Ansel. Like, when I first heard he was cast and even saw him in the trailer, I'm just like, why the fuck is this guy here when you've got, you know, Jamie Foxx and John Hamm and Kevin Spacey and everybody? But I bought it straight away. Like, I feel like obviously he's a heightened character, but I feel like I've seen kids like that. And, you know, there's something that's a little bit Asperger-y about him, and I just got it. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about the casting is the shorthand there. Like, you know, does Kevin Spacey do a huge amount? I don't know, but you know everything you need to know about him in a couple of sentences. Like, you just
Kevin
see him.
Spacey was probably my favourite.
Yeah, and you get him. And I feel the same with, like, John Hamm and Jamie Foxx. Like, he's a scary guy. He's so good. Like, I found him so intimidating to the point where I just thought, man, like, as Edgar Wright, are you, like, intimidated, like, directing this guy? Because he's so good. Like, he's so 100% committed in what he's doing. So, yeah, I really like that. I think, the opening title sequence, all the music sequences, things that you can't get across in a trailer, I adored. And it's just all the business, like, all the ideas that Edgar Wright brings to it and the way that it's directed is so refreshing after some really straight up shit that we've seen. You know, when I'm complaining about the direction in something like Rough Night and how blandly it's shot, it's because, you know, you see something like this and just the way that he moves the camera or moves people in and out or just the way he choreographs a scene, it's so interesting. Like, even that little bit where Baby, I'm not going to spoil, it's going to be very vague for people that have seen it, moves the car forward and then moves the car back. Just little things like that are just so cleverly orchestrated and add so much to your experience of the scene. My one criticism I would level at it is that I think that it's a pretty thankless role for Lily Collins. Because you either have one of two things happening there. Either she's a character of total convenience who is an accessory for him and is there for the plot. Or if that really is her personality and who she is as a character, then I think that's a character flaw. I feel like that person as a waitress who suddenly becomes interested in you, like, oh, what are you doing there? Oh, that's really interesting. There's going to be 10 other guys that come in and have something really interesting in her, you know, like...
and do we really need to perpetuate the moody white guy who doesn't say much and just is, like, really into his music? It's so enticing. Let's run away together. It didn't get that. Like, why she would give up everything for him. And I thought, like, that's sort of almost like a mentally ill character if you're going to do that. And if you're going to do that for him, you're going to do it for someone else as well, which means this thing is ill-fated. And then as well, it's Lily Collins. Like, she looks so much more mature than he does. It's like, surely she would want to slice off a bit of that ham instead. You know? Yeah. And even John Hamm, like, I'm looking at him going, God, this is exactly the sort of thing that I should find attractive, but I didn't.
I love him.
I was just like, and I spent the whole fucking movie going, why don't I want to bang you? You look so good, but ugh.
I mean, he's playing a dirty character.
But look, I've liked dirty characters before, dude.
But he's, man's got a lot of presence.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed John Bernthal in it as well for the
5 seconds.
Yeah, but he's really strong as well. Yeah, so look, I highly recommend it. It's certainly one of the better things I've seen this year. It's really unique, and Edgar Wright pulled it off, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I think I gave it a 4 on Letterboxd. I think my overall enjoyment was maybe like 3.5, but it's well executed, and as I said, objectively a good movie. I didn't personally love it, but objectively it is a very good movie.
I'm going to give it a 4.5. Again, like, it's not one of my favorites of all time. It's not something I'll rewatch like a lot, but I also want to acknowledge that you know, when someone sets out to give you a certain type of movie, did they do it really well? And I think that, yeah, they did. Like, he delivered everything he said he was going to deliver. Which is kind of, if we're ready to segue into it, how I feel about Spider-Man as well. Like, I feel like if you had things that you didn't love about it or things that don't personally engage you about it, then maybe that's just because, you know, you're not a big Spider-Man fan. But in terms of delivering a Spider-Man movie on the big screen, I don't think they ever betrayed that goal. I think that's exactly what we got. And I loved Wonder Woman a lot for different reasons, but this was something that as well stuck together for me the whole way through. Like, the third act was just as good as the first and the second. It wasn't something that took a weird turn or whatever it built. So I really, again, I didn't love it as much. I don't relate to the character as much as I like some of the more older dudes. You know, I'm a long way out of high school, but I think they made a funny, breezy, colourful Spider-Man movie and just tweaked the character just to where it needed to be and where it's never been before.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a Spider-Man fan, but it was a good Spider-Man movie. People who I know who are big Spider-Man fans, I think it's a fantastic version of the character, and, you know, I trust their opinion more than I would trust my own on this one. It's, you know, it's a nice little diversion, like something like Ant-Man was.
I just think it's really well pitched in terms of, like, the type of expectations we should have for this sort of movie. Like, it's a rollicking story. It's an adventure, and it's not going to change your life. It doesn't have, like, big, meaningful, emotional moments and angst and stuff that the other ones have tried to put in. And it's not going to be, like, a Best Picture movie or, like, one of your favourite things of all time, but at the same time, it is just, like, the most inoffensive, there to entertain you from start to finish, fun ride, and it does that. Which you got to respect, because the whole idea of taking some of these things that are quite silly and frivolous and fun and then trying to layer on all this extra emotion and meaning and angst, like trying to polish up this thing that's not what it was ever intended to be in the first place, has always been a failure. Like, it's never worked. So
They've got to be thanking their lucky stars that they got Keaton in the end. Keaton
is so great.
He is. He's by far the best thing in the movie.
Yeah, I love Michael Keaton anyway, but, you know, he's been adrift for a while. Birdman brought him back, but, you know, he's had unmemorable roles in things like the RoboCop reboot and stuff like that. But to see him just firing on all cylinders, he's got, again, so much presence, and I just made me think, God, I want to see you be an older Batman. Like, I want to see you be the Dark Knight. Like, just bulk this fucking guy up, because, you know, when the Dark Knight returns in that, they think, like, Bruce is nuts. And, you know, Michael Keaton said to us in 89, you want to get nuts, let's get nuts. And I'm like, I feel that was a promise. So when are they going to have him being like, just even, like, looking at his chin and his mouth and stuff and thinking, oh, man, I want to see that grinning, like, while you're dangling a guy off a balcony, because you are fucking crazy now. And Batman is fucking crazy. So, he was fantastic. I mean, kudos to them, and I think Marvel Studios has been really good at this, like, taking a villain from the comics, which is kind of lame. Like, you would never think, well, how do we make this live action and make it interesting, and just really making it work. I really loved what they did there. So
one of my favourite parts of it were all those little supporting cast members that were only in it for, 10 minutes or so tops, but a couple of Broad Cities, Donald Glover, who I love, not in it as much as I was expecting him to be, after they made such a big deal about his kind of casting in it.
Yeah, there's got to be a story there. Like, is he a fan or something? Did they have bigger plans for the future? Because, I don't get why he would be wasted in the MCU like that. You think you would give him something bigger to chew on? Can I also praise Sony after saying fuck Sony for their Jumanji trailer last week? But
oh, look, there's a lot of Marvel in this too. If Sony had all of this.
No, but that's what I'm praising them for is not being arrogant dicks about this. Because you look at where they were with Andrew Garfield. They had 2 movies out. They had like 3 or 4 more. They were going to do their Sinister Six movie. They had all these plans. And the fact that they pretty much ate humble pie and said, no, this isn't working. We're going to stop and we're going to cooperate. And we're going to let you guys who know what you're doing come in and do this. And we're going to let, you know, all your tower and Tony Stark and everything like that is going to be a part of it. That's really cool. Because, the fact that they didn't appear to have their hands on it as much beyond being... I'm sure in terms of like the money, the logistics, the distribution, all that sort of stuff. But, you know, it felt very Marvel movie story-wise. That's fantastic. I mean, wouldn't you love to see... Well, you're going to say no because you don't give a shit about them. But Fantastic Four, if Fox did the same thing and said, okay, look, we've tried, we fucked it up, let's go to Marvel. I think we'd be seeing a Fantastic Four that people gave a shit about.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind the Fantastic Four. They're fine. And any reboot is, you know, we're going to watch it anyway.
Yeah, but I just mean, like, but specifically not just a new movie, but putting it in that universe. I think all those chickens are going to come home to roost at some time. And it's a shame that Fox is going ahead with more of this, you know, crazy X-Men continuum that's been going since 2000, especially with... you know, you lose Wolverine, that's your time to start again. Because you can't lose Wolverine forever. You need a new Wolverine. And so many of these Marvel movies have been based around big storylines, Civil War, Infinity War, etc. So why not do A versus X? Avengers versus X-Men, bring them all together. Like, yeah, it's just such a... it'd be just so nice to have all those tools in the same box. And I think, like, Sony, that's so cool that they decided, let's do that. And they fucking pulled it off. And they put this thing into production pretty quickly as well. And it's a great film. Directed by John Watts, who... his other film is a small one, but one I recommend if you can get hold of it. It's called Cop Car. And we did review it way back in the day. But it's the one where Kevin Bacon is a really bad, dodgy cop. And some kids find his police car, which has... something in the trunk that they don't know about and that he doesn't want anyone to find, and they go off joyriding in it, and he tracks them down. So the idea that this guy, you know, did something like that and then got the opportunity to play in this like big universe and pulled it off is amazing. Everyone's pulling it off today. Yeah, I feel like I might have to go and pull it off later.
Don't even.
Look, everyone's pulling it off. Everybody's happy. I thought it was cool. Like anything that opens with like an orchestral version of the Spider-Man cartoon theme, or has like Ramones in it. So it's so much fun.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be more Tony Stark, I have to say.
Yeah, no.
Based on the trailer, I thought there was going to be a little bit more than there was, but you know, it was fine. When he turned up, they were definite highlights.
It wasn't
for
his
me.
film.
No, I know it's not his film, but
yeah,
I like Tony.
No origin and like no wasting, belaboring things that we already know. Just moving forward. This just breezy. It should like have that fucking Spider-Man rhythm, shouldn't it? It should be that breezy swinging through, just going from point to point, bam, 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 bam. You know. Good on you. Good on you, everybody.
Yeah, and Tom Holland is very good, but he is uncomfortably ripped. Like, for a 15-year-old kid, like, so ripped. And, like, there was a point where Marissa Tomei walks in on him and he's got his shirt off. And I'm like, Aunt May, aren't you questioning why your 14, 15-year-old nephew is, like, so buff? Is this not anything that you're thinking about?
I think she's thinking about it. Are they blood relatives?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I saw some article today where people are like, oh, they shouldn't be criticising Sony Marvel, whatever, for having a younger Aunt May because, like, you know, she would be old enough to be his mother's sister. But anyway, people were saying that her dad was Ben's brother or whatever. Anyway, but then, like, she is, you know, aunts. Like, I had aunts that were not even fucking related to my family. Like, anyone could be a fucking Aunt May. So they may not even be related at all.
Yeah,
Maybe he's just her ward.
So this gets be some like Mrs. Robinson.
Yeah, maybe.
Sort of action.
Who knows?
May, December. Except December is May.
Yeah.
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 Wow. Hot stuff. Marissa Tomei, she had high pants, didn't she?
Didn't notice.
Yeah,
But okay.
they were really high pants. They were like pretty much up to her armpits.
You're right.
In multiple costumes. But look, if it feels good, do it. If you got it, flaunt it in high pants.
Sure, like a lesson to take through life.
All right, is that our Spider-Man review?
Yeah, I think so.
It was good.
Yeah,
it was good.
It was good.
What? How many stars?
I gave it 4 as well. I think it's successful in what it sets out to do.
Yeah,
It's never going to be my favourite
Yeah.
Avengers movie, but it will be a favourite for a lot of people who love Spider-Man, and it is, a fine addition to the overall canon.
yeah. I'd have to give it a 4. It is my favorite Spider-Man movie. I mean, I just saw it, so but yeah. I mean,
Well, yeah, it's the best Spider-Man
It's
movie, but
definitely
the other
the best
ones aren't
Spider-Man
very
movie.
good.
no, they're so angsty.
They are so angsty.
Tobey Maguire gurns. It's like stop gurning at the camera, you little bugger. Putting everybody off their popcorn.
I still haven't seen the second Andrew Garfield one.
Oh, like, thought it was fine. I thought it was par for the course of what had come before. It had some really good moments, but it's horrible compared to this. Yeah. All right. So that was that. They were the movies. Let's just talk a little bit about TV. I just wanted to let people know. Like, I've been home. I haven't been well. I've been doing my craftings and watching a lot of TV. Catching up on a lot of stuff. And when I see that Netflix has a new series starring Naomi Watts and directed by the director of the first 50 Shades of Grey movie, I'm going to watch that. Especially when they say it's like a sexy psycho thriller. And someone had said, there was some article before, said like Naomi Watts' new series is just her like having sex all the time. And it's like, sexy Naomi Watts doing this thing. So it's called Gypsy.
Problematic.
Against a word we were so careful not to use on Half Hour History. And then, oh no, that's fine now apparently. And Billy Crudup is her husband, and she's a like therapist that works out people's problems, and she's like happily married and got a kid who's got like gender sort of confusion, who's about 8, and she falls in lust with a girl at a coffee shop who's much younger and English. And, like, it's all about her sort of wanting to cross the line there and be free and go back to her gypsy ways and wear long flowing clothing. And she sort of, like, just lies to everybody around her. And she presents herself as a different person than she actually is to this girl. But then, like, everybody, like, the girl's ex-boyfriend is one of her patients. So, and then this continually happens where she has relationships with people who don't know that she's the therapist of people that she's talking to and stuff. And I watched all 10 hours of it.
Right.
And I don't recommend that anybody does that because it's very slow. And you're thinking like, well, obviously when somebody's playing a deception game, you're thinking, I'm hanging in here for when this game gets exposed. Like, I always say, and I think I got this from Spider-Man, what a tangled web we weave when we first practice to deceive. Before you know it, lies, covering up lies, covering up lies. So you're thinking, well, she's getting in a pretty tangled web here, not a literal Spider-Man web, but like a web of lies and deceit. You're all tangled up in there. So you're waiting, you're talking about chickens coming home to roost. You're like, well, what's going to happen when these chickens come home? Surely it'll happen
There's going to be smashed eggs all over the shelf.
So surely if I put in a 10-hour investment, I'm going to find out what happens.
Well, or not.
Just wait for season 2. And if you thought it was going to be sexy, like for a sexy psycho, she has sex in her clothes a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to go all Mr. Skin on everybody, but I think you're going to have to wait about 7 hours to see like a glimpse of nipple, and that's going to be it.
Okay.
But I think that one of the biggest things I had is like she's taking a lot of risks here to, with her family and with her profession, because she's the most unprofessional like, every episode she does a billion, like, unethical things. Like, she's the worst therapist in the world. And then she's also putting a lot online with her secret tryst with this girl. But this girl is, she's an attractive girl, but she's so blandly written. She's such a shallow dickhead that it's so hard to imagine why Naomi Watts would give up anything just for, a little bit of a scissor in the corner. Like,
a little crumb of that English crumpet.
Yeah, you just think, like, there are lots of crumpets in the, like, yeah, like, why? And that but the premise relies on you to believe that she would really want this person, but because even though she's, like, really attractive, I don't want this person. I'm like, I wouldn't, like, risk shit for this. Like, plus she's, like, young and crazy and just, like, you just think, what a fucking nightmare. But I enjoyed Naomi Watts was fine. Like, I enjoyed watching Naomi Watts. I think that kept me going. But, yeah, not a fan of The Gypsy, and it hasn't been very well received. So, yeah, I prefer Traveller, the word Traveller anyway. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Can you imagine calling the TV show Traveller?
Yeah,
and then people would just be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, going back to our Traveller times. And I did finally watch Legion. All of it. So, and you caught up on this recently too.
I did, yes. While I was sick, I jumped into Legion, which was on one hand, a really bad idea because I was on a lot of medication, cold and flu, codeine,
Makes
just
you
smashing
work.
it all at once. And but on the other hand, it was pretty great because I think there was a whole nother layer to it that I got to experience just being off my chops. But I really enjoyed it. I started feeling better towards the end of the series, so I was able to kind of grasp it a little bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. Like, it's so different from everything else on
Yes,
TV.
you're 100% right.
You have to support and celebrate that sort of thing. Yeah, I found it, I was a bit worried that it would get so messy that it wouldn't be able to be tied up in a way that I found satisfying, but I was pretty happy with the way that it all wrapped up and the way it will lead into the next season.
It's so... Did you watch the after credits scene at the very end?
I feel like I did, but I can't
I'll
quite
talk to you about
remember
it
what
after.
was. Yeah.
But it was the thing, I never watched through the credits of any of them, and then that last one, I just left it running and was lucky to have seen this thing at the end. Because otherwise I wouldn't have.
Oh, yeah. No, I must have, because normally Hulu will try and bump you straight on to the next thing, but it made you watch that, yeah.
No, two things I'll say about it. I thought it was incredibly smart TV making, because when you watch that first episode, there are so many flashes of things that you don't understand, that you don't have context for, weird images. And what it does as a pilot episode makes it feel like an incredibly expensive show. Because there is just so much packed into it. But they were such smart fuckers because they get their money out of that footage. Like, that footage, those scenes get explored as we regress back in later episodes. So, they took stuff that was actually shot for 3 or 4 episodes and managed to really hook you in
mine
with
the
it.
hell out of it.
Yeah, but really hook you in with it and make it feel huge in scale by giving you all these shots that you didn't understand yet that were from later episodes.
Well, it's almost like the first episode, they just gave you a huge broken puzzle, and eventually it just started to fit all those pieces together.
Yeah, like you see a shot of that frog and you're like, what the fuck is this about? And then later on, the other thing that, and I'm going to be careful about how I talk about this because I don't want to spoil anything, but I was impressed that, we were hearing, no, it doesn't actually tie into the X-Men universe as much. That will be more the Gifted series that Bryan Singer's doing. But when you sort of get into it and you realise who this main character is, and although it's not explicitly stated, if you just read about the character in the comics, but also there are some pretty great clues to it, you go, well, no, this really does tie into X-Men. It's really important. Plus,
but they just can't really come out and say it.
Yeah, plus the villain is the Shadow King. And, in the early 90s when I was reading X-Men and I was collecting the trading cards, and that was really the gateway to the characters, because you would look at all these characters and just go, oh, that looks so interesting, but you might never see them in a comic. I've got that Shadow King card, and always captured my imagination, but I've never seen him in anything. So to go, well, I was get to see some X-Men villainry happening there. That was really cool. So, and the other thing is, some people that I love and respect, everyone's quick to, and of course you're going to be like, say this, but you watch that first episode and you go, Aubrey Plaza doing typecast, doing sorts of things that she always does. Have you got anything else up your sleeve? And you're quick to dismiss her as not having anything else up her sleeve. But because of the nature of this series, she has a lot of other stuff up her sleeve.
She sure does.
And you can't judge her performance on that first episode because there's so many different things going on in this show and so many layers of reality in this show that not everything's always as it seems at first glance.
There was so many individual scenes that I'd wanted to send you, but I thought, no, I need to let you come to this yourself.
Fishnets.
Yep.
No, it was good. And I did come to it myself, thank you.
Yeah.
So there we go. So Legion, another recommendation. We're just shooting out all the positivity today, which is fantastic. After last time. My voice is going, let's just wrap this fucker up. That's everything, right?
That is, we are done.
So look, thanks so much for listening. Please go to fruitlesspursuits.com to find everything else that we're doing. There's links to our Facebook discussion group. Please as well, I would encourage you to like us on all the social media kind of platforms, like our Facebook page. Not that you're going to get anything out of it in terms of extra content or whatever. Everything is here, but it does give us more opportunities. Also linked to our Patreon, and don't forget that our fortnightly show, Half Hour History, is going. Episode 4 came out during the week. If you don't know what I'm talking about or haven't gotten onto that yet, go to fruitlesspursuits.com. There are posts about that show and links to pick it up. And that's it. I'm going to go off, so let's get out of here. Come on. Can't say the thing.
Camelot.
There won't be another Camelot.